Hello, hello. Is everybody in? Sorry, I'm starting a couple minutes late today, you guys. I was rushing. Yeah, if you could up the lights, that would be super helpful. Good morning, everybody. Well, it's morning here on the East Coast. If you're East Coast time, I know it's about noon. I am running late this morning. I did workout. I dropped the kids off for school and I rushed back home, took a shower, threw a little hair and makeup on to come and join you guys. And so if I'm out of breath today, that is why. But we are rockin' sockin'. Good morning, Aisha. Nice to see you. Gorgeous. Good morning, Rachel. I know you're not showing yourself this morning, but I can feel your heart, baby. I can feel that you are here. Thank you guys for joining me on the very first ever pageant prep challenge. So I'm starting off with crown and sash, just so that you guys can visualize, all right? Because so much of this competition, so much of the endeavor that we are all embarking on is about the mental game and the heart game. And then the tactical stuff comes later. So when I talk to you about visualizing, hopefully this will help. Don't visualize it on me, visualize it on you. Imagine in your moments of quiet what it will feel like to wear the national crown. Imagine what it will feel like to be crowned, to have that moment for yourself. Because what we think about, we bring about. And I tell the kids that all the time. They're like, Mama, enough already. What we think about, we bring about. The universe that God created does not know the difference. And I'm a science geek. I'm sure I explain it terribly, but my husband and I geek out on things like quantum physics and how it relates to spirituality and all of this stuff. But what I can tell you that I know to be true is that the universe doesn't know the difference between something that we are imagining happening versus something that is happening in this plane of reality that we live in, which is fascinating, right? There's these things called mirror neurons that are in our brains. There's also about 40,000 neuro cells in our heart, which is shocking. So our heart is actually our second brain, and the mirror neurons are allowing what we're thinking about to be powerful attractors, no matter if it's in our imagination or our physicality, which is why, and we talked about this yesterday, which is why every major athlete creates a video in their head of what they want their ideal performance to be. You guys have probably heard this, and they play it in their mind over and over and over. Like Michael Phelps, right? At the Olympics, he's got his headset on like Aisha, and he's like got his hoodie down over his head, and he is replaying in his mind his most successful performance and how that will feel in his body, and the end result of it, how it will feel over and over and over again, because we attract what we think about. And the same thing, we watched a movie about Gabby Douglas years ago. My daughter was thrilled to watch it. And one of the things that she revealed in there is that she's mad into doing the same thing. They would practice the routine, they would perfect the routine, and then they would go and replay it in their minds over and over and over and over and over. And I did that before going to Mrs. America. I'm doing that, going to Mrs. World. I don't know how successful that will be yet, but I know that I am in control of the input. I'm not in control of the output. I'm not in control of what happens, the results. And neither are you guys, right? That's the hardest thing, I think, for women in particular, is that we like to be in control, especially if you're like me, if you're a type A, overachiever, and your aspirations for what you can accomplish in a day are about 4 times greater than what you can actually accomplish. Say aye.
Guilty.
Yeah. We can accomplish more in a year than we think we can. Maybe not in a day, but when we add those days up and we add one little thing to them, we can accomplish in a year what we never imagined that we would accomplish. So I'm not going to wear this the whole time. And the reason is I want to make sure that you guys know that there's no difference between you and me. All right, I put the dry shampoo in my hair today because I'm getting my hair done at 10:30 right after I get off of this video. And the roots are killing me. So I did some dry and now I look like I'm silver, which is great. It was so much fun. I want to make sure that you guys know that I'm just another mama. I have no magical powers. I have nothing different about me than what you have about you. And I say that because I remember watching, like I started my pageant journey at age 16 and I started on a dare. If you haven't seen the beginning of this, I started on a dare because I was such an ugly duckling and such a tomboy that people laughed when I had an invitation via postcard to compete for Vermont Team USA. This was 1998, 97. And they laughed. And I'm cool with like picking, I can dish it so I can take it, right? One of those things. But when it got to the point where my brother and my friends were sitting around the table and they said, Hannah, you could never do that. I was like, oh, you didn't just go there, because guess what? Now, not only are you going to watch me win a state title, but I'm going to win a national or maybe even a national title. I was 16, y'all. I had the worst acne you've ever seen. I had 6 rounds of Accutane, which, if you know anything about that drug, horrendous. I had acne all over my back and my chest and my face so bad that I would stay home for days at a time, because it was so embarrassing to go to school and have people call me pizza face and have people look at me. And sometimes I'd have breakouts that would go through my shirt in my back during class, and I didn't even know it. So that was me. I was skinny, I was gangly, I was awkward. I never had a boy ever pay attention to me. And I walked like this, my first pageant. I showed the video in the first one. So if you guys, eventually I'll put the replay up and you can see it. But I did this thing called the turtle walk, because I thought, like, stand up straight. But then my head went back and I walked like this. And for years, my family picked on me and they called me Turtle. What's up, turtle head? What's up, turtle walk? Right? For years. But I had set that goal for myself at 16. I had said, no one has the power in my life to tell me what I cannot do and who I cannot be. So when I tell you guys that one of the driving quotes of my life, and I've posted this before, is to have a dream so big that you can't achieve it until you become the person who can. That's because that's powered my life. That's not coming from a place of preachiness. That's not coming from a place of better than-ism. Girls, I am here to be an example of what not to do. I am here to be an example of resiliency from a really rough start. Okay, it has taken me 24 years to achieve that dream. That was so unlikely and so ridiculously out of the realm of possibility when I was 16 years old and I was picked on for pretty much everything in my life. I was so clumsy on the soccer field that they called me Grace, because I was the only one that you've ever met that was able to trip and fall on the field without the ball under my feet. I kid you not. Talk to the girls in high school, okay? They called me Grace because I tripped and fell even without the ball. That's how clumsy my feet were. I played left bench in soccer. So when I say I was a 3-season athlete, cool, what'd you do? I played left bench. That's what I did. All right. Everyone has a starting place. And the only thing that we have is growth. The thing that will make us happy is knowing that we are becoming a different person today than we were yesterday, knowing that we are improving in all of the areas of life. And we can't do it all at once, obviously, but every day we can make a little bit of a difference. We can move the needle a little bit in our mindset, right? In our mental game, in our emotional game, how we think, how we view, how we change the thoughts that are coming into us during pageant week, especially. We're going to talk about that today when we talk about image. And this is the longest introduction ever, I know. But when we talk about image, so much of image, you guys, comes from that mental and emotional game. It is powered by our ability that we have to refine and practice and dedicate ourselves to the mastery of not comparing. So funny to hear me say that, because that has been like the thing, right? For me. In business, we model after people who have done what we want, who have what we want, who've created what we want to create. We call it hacking. I just came back from a week-long conference called Funnel Hacking Live, and it's for entrepreneurs to take what they have and take who they are and bring their best out into the world in a bigger level. And how do we do that? We imitate what people have done before us, and then we turn it into our own. I did the same thing in pageantry, and my journey looked a whole lot like looking at the winner, seeing what her hair looked like, seeing what her face looked like, seeing what she wore. And of course, on TV or on video or whatever, we can only see what her evening gown looks like. Sometimes we get to see an interview. If somebody posts a picture, right? Like every once in a while, you'll see a national title holder or even state title holders, which are equally amazing, post pictures of what they wore in interview. And that was super helpful for me in so many ways because it gave me a foundation. But the problem was, and here's what I'm here to help you ladies avoid today. And this is where my heart just thumps with hopefulness for you, that you don't have to make the same mistakes, that you can save yourself the pain of trying to imitate. Okay, get inspiration from, but we're not going to imitate. We're not going to allow the comparison of the other women during the week, what they're wearing during interview, what they're wearing on stage, their image, their hair, their makeup, their face all week long. We're not going to allow that to make us feel any less about ourselves. Does that take work or does that come naturally? Because for me, it sure as shoot does not come naturally. I'm the first one to walk into a room, and girls, if you guys knew what happened in my head on its own, it looks like, oh, she's 6 foot tall. She's a supermodel. Oh my goodness. There is no way I'm going to be able to beat that. And this one over here, she's like a PhD, MD, XYZ, D. She's got all the D's happening. And I am nowhere near that level of smart and awesome. This one here runs a business that's 10 times bigger than my business. This one here, I've seen her on social media and oh my gosh, like she has 1 million followers. And then there's little old me. And I'm like, okay, you know, I might be a 7 or even an 8 on a really good day with professional hair and makeup. But I'm certainly not this Amazon 10, and I'm not that 10, social media 10, and I'm not the D person, you know, the everything D 10, and I'm not the 10 that each one of them are. And none of us are. That's the thing. But my brain, I'm just going to give you an insight into my wackadoodle brain. It's very painful. It's a painful place to be, but I'll bring it in it because we're not going to stay there for long. And that's what I am in control of. I'm not in control of the fact that my mind is instantly going to tell me, Hannah, you are not enough. Ooh, it hurts. Do you feel the pain? You are not enough. You are not smart enough. You are not tall enough. You are not blonde enough. You are not a dancer enough. You are not dynamic enough. You are not anything enough to achieve your goals. That is the first thing that pops into my mind. And God, I've had this tissue situation, like needing a tissue every single day that I've done this so far. So in my perfect imperfection, I'm going to wipe my nose right now. My husband says it's actually adrenaline rather than allergies or something. And that's cool because I am fired up to be with you guys. This feels like my life's work. And I ramble a ton, and I really pray that I add incredible value to your life. And it's mostly unscripted because I want to make sure that I'm showing up for you in the most real and vulnerable and authentic possible way to give you exactly what I'm encouraging you to bring to the judges, to bring the best of you without being fully scripted. And that's what I'm so passionate about. And I'm fired up because it means so much to me that I finally achieved this dream. And I have a platform where I can share with more women than I could one-on-one the things that I've learned the hard way over 24 years of getting my butt kicked in doing this thing called pageantry and coming back to do it again and again and again because I'm just stubborn like that. But the whole point of this is about how you can win a pageant without being perfect. So, you know, I'm going to show you the imperfection. I showed yesterday the zit on my chin that popped up. That's exciting. And today it's the roots. So, you know, it's all good. But when those monsters, those self-doubt monsters come into my head, the minute I walk into that interview room, the minute I walk into the Westgate and I start to see these women, I have a choice to make. I can either allow that comparison to shrink me, because we all have an energy field that we are in control of that goes about 8 to 10 feet outside of us. That's as far as science has been able to measure it, right? There's lots of ways that we can get it to project further and further, but without doing anything, without even trying consciously, we run an energy field about 8 feet from us, which is why when someone is magnetic, you just want to be close to them. And when someone walks in a room that is just miserable, you can feel it, you back away, right? We all know that about our energy, but I have learned that it's my job to control that energy. I'm not going to let it just be, because if it is just on its own, it's my head telling me I'm not enough. And that shrinks me and it darkens that energy field and it shrinks me and it lowers my vibration to something that's lower than love, which is where I want it to be pulsating all the time, because that's when I get to share the best of me with everyone around me. So I have to work really, really, really hard to stay here. If you had those doubt monsters, and I don't know if you do or if you don't, some people don't. I talked to someone the other day who's a state title holder, and she was like, you have to work that hard? And I was like, yeah. She goes, I'm just naturally confident. Like, I've never had to go through those thoughts. Like, I just know that I was created to be who I am, and I'm okay with my flaws, perceived flaws. And I think that they're just how I was made, and it's a beautiful thing. And I'm a child of God, and here I go. And I was like, can I try on your brain for like a day or two? Can we do a swap? And she goes, that must be exhausting, all the work you have to do in your mind all the time. And I said, yeah, but that's why I have to prepare myself for it. That's why I have to work out every day and take lots of vitamins and supplements and drink water and do all the things to keep my body healthy enough, because it takes a lot of work for me. And it may not for you. And if it's easy for you, bless your heart. But when I look at those girls, I now have a choice. And here's where the empowerment comes in. I can back up a little bit and I can observe it and be like, oh, okay, thoughts. Thank you. You're trying to protect me in some way. Like, our ancient brains are always trying to protect us. It started off protecting us from saber-tooths and from like really scary bears and things that wanted to eat us. That's how our brains are actually created and hardwired. Now it's to protect us from things like embarrassment and not being liked, right? But our brains, which is like nothing, you know, but our brains are not programmed to realize that that is not a big deal. That's not a fight or flight response required, but it gives us a fight or flight response anyway. So knowing that gives us the power. Knowing about scorpions takes away their power. Knowing about rattlesnakes. I live in Arizona. And when I moved here, I was scared to death of rattlesnakes. Okay. I was like, I can't go hiking anymore. I can't go running. I can't do anything because they're everywhere. And then someone was like, Hannah, just learn about them and it'll take the fear away. Oh yeah, duh, right. Yeah, that's cool. Good advice. So I learned that rattlesnakes just want to be left alone. They're very much like me. They're much like many of us. Like, give me a 6-foot distance. Like, just keep, you do you, I'll do me. Everyone will be good, right? Just don't tread on me. And that's why they're warning you. They're just saying, hey, I don't want to hurt you. I just want you to not step on me. It's like a self-defense thing, right? So take your headphones out when you're hiking. Shake the ground, make sure that they know where you are so that you don't startle them. If you don't startle them, they're not going to bite you. And that knowledge in my brain allowed my heart to continue to tell me it's going to be okay. You can outsmart this. You can do this. You can overpower this fear. You can feel the fear, even if it's irrational, but you can do the thing anyway. And that's what I'm encouraging you guys to do, because when we walk into that field of women, and we just see this overwhelming awesomeness, we can step back and we can observe our mind giving us these messages. And we can just go, oh, all right, cool. This is the brain trying to protect me. I get it. Thank you. These things are like rattlesnakes to my brain. All right. So I'm just going to back away. And I'm instead going to know that I'm empowered to choose my next thought. I may not be in charge of my first thought, but I am in charge of my second thought. And my second thought has to be practiced and programmed and affirmed. And I need to show myself tactical examples of people who have won or people who have done very well, not being those things. And that's what this is today. That's what the image talk is today. The branding talk is today. Because it's important that you guys look and find for yourselves examples of people who may not have the Barbie figure, who may not be the PhDs, who may not be any of the things that psych you out and make you feel like you're not enough. Find examples of people who have succeeded with those things. I'll call them limitations, but they're not limitations. They're just part of who we are, you know, and it's awesome. And there are people who have won. in every single one of those categories. So take your time in part of your research and your preparation to find those. Eventually, when I have a little more time, if I do this again, my hope is that I will find examples for you and I will have cool videos and pictures to show you. In the meantime, you guys can be your own research scientists and you can find those examples. The second thing we can do, so that's one part, we need to find proof that those self-doubt monsters, those limiting beliefs, those illusions are not true, and it needs to be tangible. So the thinking part of our brain will be like, okay, yeah, I got proof. The other part of that is that we need to do the work to overcome that thing enough, hard enough, well enough, dedicatedly enough, if that's a word, passionately enough, so that by the time we get there, we know that in that category, we are the absolute best we can be. Like if we're comparing us by height, there's a gal who won my state last year in the Miss division. She's literally 6 foot tall. And I'm like hovering around 5'8 3/4. I used to say I was 5'9". Now I'm a little more honest. I'm 5'8 3/4 and I'm shrinking. I'm actually 5'8 1/2. Because I'm getting, older. You hit 40 and apparently you start shrinking, which is another really cool thing about aging. Just something to look forward to. Most of you are younger than me. I digress. So I'm never going to be that 6 foot tall Amazonian woman. I'm just not. But what can I do? Okay, so what can I do in that category? I'm going to work on it mentally and emotionally. I'm going to find people who have done it anyway, regardless of that. I'm going to find short people. And on the other side, I'm going to do whatever I can do to elevate myself as much as I possibly physically can in that category, right? Those are the only things that are in my control. And it's insane for any of us to worry about anything that's not in our control. It's taken me a long time to work on that. And that's still a daily conditioning I have to do. If it's not in my control, I'm not going to stress it. I'm only going to pick out of every situation what is a portion of this that is in my control. And then I focus all my attention on that. And it makes me feel like I have accomplishment and what I call micro wins. I didn't coin that phrase. I'm sure I stole it from someone. It's out there all over the universe. But we need those micro wins. We need to know that we have already achieved something in that category so that when I get there, like, and for example, okay, so go back to the, I'm shorter than her. I won't be able to do this because I'm too short. I have found a list of women who are shorter and have won. And then on the shorter side, I can go, oh, all right, there's got to be some high heels out there that are bigger than like the 3 inchers, that I wear to church. There's got to be. What are women wearing to make themselves taller? And so then I start to try to figure that out. Like ask your director, what are the best heels for adding height? Talk to your former winners, your former state title holders and be like, yo, I want to add a lot of height. How do I do that? And then you get those shoes. Like people are going to tell you, here's exactly the shoes that you need to buy. Here are the most popular 5 shoes, 3 shoes, 5 shoes. I can tell you guys that. Like I can give you links to that in 6 seconds. The most popular pageant shoes that are super high heeled. And then what I can do is I can practice in those heels. I can order maybe all of them. And then I can try them on and walk around my house and do my best strutting, where my kids are going to laugh at me, but it doesn't matter because that's just how we roll around here. And I'm going to see which ones make me feel the most like me with all of that additional height. And if you had a spy camera in my house before Mrs. American, that's what you would have seen me do. I ordered like 6 pairs on Amazon, different sizes, different heights, different this, different that. And then I practiced doing my swimsuit walk and my evening on walk in each of them. And my 10-year-old daughter, you guys, has seen me prepare for pageants so much that she looked at me in this one pair of shoes and she goes, Mama, I mean, they're pretty and you're doing well in them, but like that walk isn't your best real walk. Like you can do better. And I think you should try those other shoes. And right, like that blew my mind that our kids are that observant, right? And I'm like, oh, you're a little coach. That's fantastic. Thank you. And so then I put on the next pair of shoes. They were the same height. They were just a different manufacturer. And I have this thing that I like to do, and I'm happy to do any walking training. And I didn't build it into this because I told you guys I wouldn't do that much tactical stuff. I'm happy to do runway training or walking training. I've obviously done more than my fair share of training over 24 years to do that. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, but I've practiced it enough to develop my own style, right? I do this thing where I lead with my hips. hip bone. Can you see? Can you guys see that? So I lead with my hips instead of like this, like I used to, the opposite of, right? I lead with my hips, which makes me stand up, and I'm not pushing my boobs out when my hips are forward. And then you can't see my feet, but I do like a little kick. I call it like a horse kick. And every step is a kick. It's like this little hip kick thing. And for me, it's fun. It's not super bouncy. It's not unbouncy. It allows me to be fun without being so stiff and working on something so perfectly. You have to practice your walk in your right heels that will give you the right height that make you and your ancient brain know that you are doing everything in your power to overcome that mental crap that's hitting you from every direction, right? And you also are reminding yourself of the images of the girls that have won that are shorter. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? I know that there's a lot there, but it's not just one of those things. It's all of those things. It's like, you know, when you do any work with Tony Robbins, he talks about stacking and you stack, like we stack anxiety, and that's what gives us the jitters and depression and nervousness and all of these things. We stack concern and worry and worry and worry and worry. And before we know it, that's how we're like, boom, I'm overwhelmed. But the other thing that we are in control of is stacking gratitude. So we go through visuals of the things that make us happy, memories in our lives that make us happy, that bring us to a place of complete joy and fullness and completion and gratitude. And we spend time, he calls it priming. So go to tonyrobbins.com/priming if you want examples of how to do this. There's also YouTube videos of Tony Robbins priming. And we stack gratitude on gratitude and the things, the memories in our lives that bring us to that heart place. And before we know it, that's where we are. Like we're riding high on deliciousness. It's the same thing with preparation. It's not just about finding that right pair of shoes or finding that interview dress, right? It's about overcoming the mental crap that is coming at you, the self-doubts that have been present. If you're anything like me, they've been present your entire life, and we're going to override them. And then we're going to add the tactical skills on top of that. There's another component of that now that we're in the tactical side. Another component of it is about 10,000 hours. So there's very well-known, it's not really a saying, I guess, advice, I don't know the word for it. It's a very well-known, it's not really a fact, but an idiom, I suppose, in the business world, that 10,000 hours of practice at something and actually doing it, not just practicing, like not just in your home kicking a soccer ball, but actually being on the field and hitting the shots and going for it and tripping and falling and shooting for the goals, right? Actually doing your craft, working your craft. It takes 10,000 hours of working our craft before we actually achieve mastery. And you can think, well, why do I need mastery of this, right? That seems a little intense. Do I really need to apply 10,000 hours to win a pageant? Oh no, I don't have that kind of time, right? We're real women. We got life things happening, but you may not need a full 10,000 hours, all right? We're gonna abbreviate that because this isn't your entire life's work. It can't be. You know, anyone who the pageant is their entire life, they're probably never going to win a pageant, right? Because they're not bringing enough depth of character and soul and experience to the table, if that's what they're shooting for. So you have a real life. I'm going to assume that. Let's abbreviate that 10,000 hours. I don't know a number, but I do know that the reason for that, the principle of that, is that we are creating muscle memory of that craft. And how it applies to pageantry is extremely important. We need muscle memory of the walking, of the posing, of the swimsuit versus the evening gown walk, of the how I'm going to sit for interview, how I'm going to present myself at the beginning of interview. Every one of those things we should be practicing physically, not just in our mind. We talked about how we're going to create the video of the success and how we feel in the success of that and play it over and over in our mind. But now is our chance to actually tactically practice those things. So people have said, oh, I'm afraid to take this challenge because I already have a coach And I don't want to do, I don't want to hear conflicting advice from someone when I already have a coach. Girls, I'm not here to adjust what your coach is telling you, if you have one, about how to walk. Okay. You and she figure that out. Okay. You're going to have your own style. What I am here to encourage you is to find your own style in that. Don't try to walk like any other former Mrs. Worlds or former Mrs. Americas or former Miss Universe or Miss USA or Miss Americas. We can see all their videos. There's tons of cool walking videos out there. Okay. Watch them, try them, practice them, figure out what feels real and right and best to you within the framework of what we know looks good on stage. There's some things like you can't just create on your own and expect them to work, right? Let's be honest. Like my turtle walk, for example, I created that, signature, didn't work. So yes, get some professional help and then tweak it till it feels right in your body, till your 10-year-old says, yeah, mama, that's your walk. That's the pair of shoes that makes you look like you. Okay. And then master that. Then practice that over, I'm going to say 10,000 hours just because it's the, most commonly used number. Practice that over your 10,000 hours until it goes into your bones. If you're an athlete, you know this principle, right? Like you've practiced and practiced and practiced so that when in a game, on the field, on the court, whatever it is, you already have it in your body. So you don't have to use your brain. And that's the ultimate goal of this. When I say mastery in terms of your image, your walk, how you're going to present, I'm talking about how you can use your body and your heart to present you as the most authentic, radiant, magnetic, love-filled, irresistible, incredible person that you are, without having to turn this on. Because for me, and I know that I'm not alone in this, for me, when I turn my brain on, it becomes the longest 12 inches in the universe to try to keep in my heart and turn my brain on. Maybe I'm just too blonde for it, y'all. Like I can't use my brain and my heart at the same time. Like I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. I don't know. I'm obviously not a real natural blonde, so I should be smarter. But I think that's the challenge, is that we either have to choose somewhat between using our heart in the moment, letting that be our driver in the moment and our decision maker, and leading with our heart the same way we lead with our hips when we're doing a runway walk, right? Or thinking, how am I walking? How am I standing? Okay, it's going to be my right foot front. No, my left is my best foot. Oh crap, I'm going to switch to my left. Do I like my hands on my hips or don't I? I don't know. Maybe I'll try and then I won't, right? That's in your brain. And that is not allowing us to show up as our most authentic selves. True? If that is true for you, throw something, I don't know, in a comment somewhere. There's not an ability to do hearts on this. Thank you. Like there was on Periscope. I don't know if you guys ever did Periscope. You could blow up people on their hearts when they did videos. Oh, there's a heart. Rachel, how'd you do that? Magic. It's possible. All right. Thank you for showing us it's possible. Oh, and this is cool.
The 3 little dots on the side of the camera.
The 3 little dots on the side.
Three little dots that say more, and you can put hearts in there.
That is so cool.
That's on my phone though. I don't know if that's on a computer too, I'm assuming.
Oh, okay. Well, Aisha threw up a thumbs up, so I'm guessing that it is an option on there as well. But okay, cool. So you guys can do that. So it's not just me, I guess, which is a good thing. The Heartbrain Connection, it's not a good place for me to play, which is why, again, I didn't overscript this video. It's why I stepped back from overscripting this entire challenge for you. I'm hoping that I'm adding value to your life. I have bullet points, I have structure, I have frameworks of what I want to share with you from my experience to give you strength and hope to be your best selves, but I cannot script it. Same thing for interview. Same thing for stage questions, right? Don't script it, because then you stay in your brain and you're like, oh, did I hit every sentence in the right order? Did I hit everything? Did I say that word? And if you missed one word, it completely derails you. We've all seen those videos of people bombing a stage question. And that's because they practiced so much, bless their hearts, that when they lost something in their speech, it made them go, oh! And you don't want that to happen to you. And the way for that not to happen to you is to develop a few bullet points, right? Go back to day one and think of the one or the two, or maybe in certain circumstances, 3 things that you want them to remember you for, that are going to make you stick out from the other 50 women. Those things are your bullet points. That's all you need. You don't need to memorize the things that are the most important to you in life, right? To me, I mean, if you watch my onstage question from last year, and it is on YouTube, so it's easy. Oh, thank you. You can
That was
see.
impressive. It was very authentic. It was like, it was, yeah, that was awesome.
Oh, thank you. And it was super imperfect. I actually just watched it this morning as I was coming down to see you guys. It crossed my feed and I was like, oh, that was a real hot mess. And, you know, if I looked at it just tactically, like if I looked at it in terms of perfection, it was not the most succinct. It was not the most polished answer, even among the 3 of us that were standing there. Right? The other 2 like nailed it. It was tactically perfect. And I watched it again and I was like, huh, yeah, well, mine was not that. Isn't that funny? But you know what it was, is it was heart moving to people. Heart moving? That's not a thing, but it is now. It was heartfelt and therefore moving to people who watched it, because you can tell through that answer that mine wasn't scripted, but it was who I am. And it was what I'm passionate about. And that mattered more to the judges than every sentence being perfect. So that is the gift that I hopefully can give to you guys. It doesn't mean don't practice. You need the 10,000 hours of mastery. I also stumbled on the stage during swimsuit. I stumbled on the stage during evening gown. All right. Little things. Go back and watch the video. I'll post the video in this at some point in time. Just a little stumble. I had practiced for hours in those heels and in my gown at home. Not once did I trip. Not once did a piece of fabric make me stumble. First time on stage. But you know what's cool is that those little stumbles don't have to derail us when we're not rolling in here, because I was moving from my heart in those you know, the competition areas, right? In those stage programs of swimsuit and evening gown, I was moving from my heart. So the little stumble, I could just laugh off and be like, oh, that was interesting. Where'd that thing come from? Okay. And then we move on. But when we're in our heads about it, that doesn't happen. It takes the 10,000 hours of mastery that I went around and around and around. I'm pointing this way because in my husband's studio, just to this direction is the front door. And then it goes this long hallway all the way to the end of the house. And it's tiled. So that's where I did most of my pageant practicing, up and down the runway, in the gown and in the swimsuit, and, you know, tried all these different things. So that's why I'm pointing in that direction. That for you, wherever that is in your house, I hope that you wear the rug raw, sisters, or you know, rub off the linoleum or whatever it is. You scratch up that tile and then you have to have your tile refinished or your wood refinished. If you know anything about me, you know I love renovating, and mostly it's destruction, and I love tearing stuff up. I'm not super skilled at rebuilding. So I have a team that does that for me, but I'm well known to take down walls and to pull up carpet and flooring that I hate before I even have a plan for what I'm going to do to improve that. But that's how I know so much about flooring, because then I get in trouble because I have to come in and figure out how to, you know, put in new flooring. And I love getting dirty, and I love being real, and I love tearing up floors and knocking out walls and all of those things. Make sure that you present those parts of yourself also. And this is a tangent, but I know that you guys weren't on the first couple of days. Make sure that you present a space that will shock them, that will make them see beyond the perfection that they might feel that they're looking at. Because when we have hair and makeup on, and when we got our fabulous outfits on, we look kind of like Barbie dolls, right? Of all different colors and all different, you know, nationalities and all different everything. We're like almost unapproachably beautiful, all of us. And so when we have the opportunity to share with something, like share with the judges an insight into who we are in our real lives, and this is a total tangent, sorry, do it. That's why I tell them that I love doing renovations, that I like get fired up about being in work boots and having hammers and goggles on and like dust being everywhere and destroying stuff. Because then they go, oh, that's kind of cool. She's like a real chick, you know, she's a real person, and they feel more connected to you. I had the honor of watching Mrs. Utah take place this year, and I'll pick on them for a second. They're all incredible women. And what my takeaway was as I was watching was that there was this one woman who showed up and she literally looked like a Barbie. Like, she's taller than me. She's just the thing, right? And you're like, whoa. But you wonder, is there any substance there? It's not just me, girls. Like, let's be honest. If you're a judge and you see spectacular beauty, you have to think, but is there anything behind that? Like, what's the depth? What's the grit? What's the real stuff behind there? Is there anything? And what she revealed during the pageant was that she actually runs a farm. She actually owns and runs an organic farm. And there were all sorts of pictures that were shown of her out working in the field, like having her work boots on and getting dirty and, you know, talking into the camera to help people learn how to organic farm on their own. And in that mess, I bonded with her. I connected with her because I realized her depth and I realized she was real. And we connect from those points, not of perfection, ironically, right? So if you have an opportunity as you're developing what your image will look like, this is more actually about like your paperwork and your interview and all of this stuff, but it's completely pervasive through your entire preparation process. Make sure that you give them one of the bullet points about you, something that breaks through that shell of gorgeousness so that they know who you really are in real life. You know what I mean? And I think that's important. And I think that's what my final answer did for people too, that they saw my vulnerability. Girls, it was scary for me to make a choice, to be honest, in that moment. I had a couple of other options of what I could have answered. And they were the typical pageant questions that I, you know, had prepared and I had practiced and I had gone over and over and over so many years. And I could have just perfectly nailed. And then the final one on that little sheet of paper that I was given was about Victoria's voice. And all of a sudden, this huge wave of fear just jumped into my stomach, and it said, you cannot share your story. You cannot share your weakness. You cannot share your vulnerability because people won't like you. They won't vote for you. Your greatest dream since you've been 16 will be off limits for you because you're not supposed to talk about addiction and alcoholism. You're not supposed to do that. Right? And I had to make that decision in that moment. I remember vividly, people are like, what was it like, you know, in that moment? That moment was horrifyingly scary for me because my life's purpose and my life's work and my passion and why I'm here is to give people hope that a life lived in recovery is incredible and that you don't have to be boring to be sober if you need it. A life of recovery is such a gift. And that is my passion outside of pageantry. But in pageantry, my goal was to win, right? Just to do it because I wanted it for so long. And in that moment, I was afraid of the incompatibility of those two things. And I had to make a decision. And in that fear, it was okay. And I had this very clear message that just said, this is why you're here. And I took a deep breath and I was like, all right, God. And I put mentally, emotionally on the table, I sacrificed what I thought would be the win of my greatest life's dream and what I've worked so hard for. I sacrificed it on that table. Oh, you guys froze for a second. Oh, are we back? Are we back? Okay. I think it froze for a second. So in my mind, I just sacrificed it. And I was like, okay, this is why I'm here. I committed to do this not because of the glitz and the glamour and the attention and the prestige or anything that might come along with the traditional versions of pageantry. That's not why I said yes to competing to Mrs. Arizona last year after 7 years of thinking I was retired. I didn't do it for me. I did it to be of service. I felt a nudge on my heart and I didn't know why. And it persisted for 2 years. And I finally said, okay, already, I'll do it. Okay, that's what it looked like to me to get into pageantry this year. I had hung up my shoes. I thought I was done. I thought I was done with the journey. I made top 15 at Mrs. America in 2013. And that was like the pinnacle for me. I was like, yes, I can retire. Yay. And my family can stop spending all this money on pageants. Yay. And then 2 years ago, I started to get that nudge and that pull on my heart, and I would have dreams about competing again. And I'd wake up and be like, honey, I'm having the weirdest dreams. It's almost like a nightmare. Why am I being pulled to compete again? What's up with that, right? And it was 2 years, you guys. And I finally said, yes, I don't know what I'm being called to do in service, but I will show up. And then I got Mrs. American, which is first runner-up essentially at Mrs. Arizona. And then I went on to nationals. And in that moment, it all came crashing in. In that moment on stage, final question, right? Top 3. And it came to me so clearly, this is why you're here. And I said yes to that. And I said, you know what? That's bigger. If this message can touch one person, one heart, one family with a ripple effect of no more addictive illness, no more alcoholism, no more abuse that comes from all of that, then all of this is worth it. The time, the money, the effort, the pain, the tears, all of it is worth it. If I can use this platform to make the difference that I am here to make because of the pain that I went through in my life. And I said yes to that in that moment. And that is why the answer looked like it did. Okay, so I don't know where to go from there, but I want that for you, right? You guys have a why. I'm going back to day 1. Find your why. You know, Simon Sinek did this amazing TED Talk called Start With Why. I would totally recommend that you dig into it and watch it again and again. If you don't know your why, the why has to be powerful enough. Why are you doing this? Why do you want to achieve this goal for yourself? It has to be powerful enough to get you not only out of bed in the morning to get your workouts done, to get your hair done and your nails done and get the things and buy the dresses and buy childcare for your kids and all the things that it takes, right? We have to have a why that drives that, but also that why has to be strong enough that when you walk into the hotel or you walk into the rehearsal room or both, and then you walk on stage, it happens over and over and over and over again at pageant week. We just get drilled with opportunities for our old school mind to beat us up, and then opportunities to step back, observe them, prove them wrong, know that we've practiced against them. And that comes together to confidence, and we show up as our best selves, right? Our why has to be strong enough to fuel our desire to do that work. Because what I just gave you in that super quick summary, it's a lot of work, you know, that personal work. It's hard and it takes a ton of energy, and you have to do it over and over and over during pageant week. From the very second you arrive, I'll look down and be like, ah, her luggage is so much nicer than mine. Oh my gosh, like that rose gold set, like it's a matching set. And I'm rolling like my black torn up one broken wheel, like into the hotel because we haven't replaced luggage since I was, 18. And it starts in that moment. And we have to be strong enough to have these techniques. Now you have my actual technical technique, but you have to have your why strong enough that you're willing to do the energy that it takes to use it, to find examples of people who've done well anyway, and then to practice yourself in those areas enough that you know that you've improved to the best of your possible ability. And then you have the confidence that goes deep inside that you're showing up as your best and brightest self. I'll say it over and over because that is like the basic philosophy of all of this. And it's every category. So that being said, let me go into what I told you in the Facebook group that I was going to address today. I want to make sure that I'm giving you guys what I promised. And if I haven't, then tell me that. Hopefully I'll add that on. I also want to be cognizant of your time. We have about 9 minutes left from the time that I promised. And I want to make sure that, I fill you with all of that I can. All right, day 3, looking fierce. Ow! Dazzle the judges with your fitness, face, and fashion. What are the outdated, crusty rules that you are feeling ready to break, such as wearing white is the only way to win? Believe it or not, someone told me the other day that their coach told them that, like made them choose a white dress because white is the winning color. And I was like, what? Is this 1985? And did you happen to look at last year's lineup? By the way, there was a sea of white and silver at Mrs. American. And then there was one black dress in the middle with a little bit of gold and greenish shining through. One black dress. There was one yellow. She was Nevada. She's fantastic. She's a female pilot, by the way. She rocks. Love her. One bright yellow, super courageous choice, and then the chicken black. And you know what happened? You crazy coaches who are still saying that white wins, the black dress had the crown on her head, all right? So tactically prove it wrong. And then you're going to build the confidence that you can choose the dress of whatever color, y'all, that looks best on you. It just happened that black was the one for me. You know, I wasn't like, I didn't scientifically research the percentage of people who win in black, although there's a whole line of them, by the way, who win in black, and that's cool. But anyway, so let's break the outdated, crusty rules such as that are just not true. Here's some other ones, and here's some stuff that I believed for a lot of years as well as that. And I don't know if you guys have to, but let's not believe them, that they only like blondes, so I should go blonde, or they only like brunettes, so I should go brunette. This is the year of like multinationality, and I'm not going to be able to win no matter what. I mean, like all of these things are thoughts in our heads. We're being, you know, I'm too blonde, I'm too brunette, I'm too Hawaiian, I'm too Hispanic, I'm too African-American, I'm too whatever, Indian, Native American, all the things, all the beautiful people in all of the colors that we all are, that are just gorgeous. Find examples of people just like you in that space who have won, right? And then do whatever you need to do to, you know, make that feel the most awesome for you. Anyway, there's only one pageant style that will win, and I have to look like that all week. That to me looks like wearing the perfect, like the suit, like the, you know, the pageant patty outfits that the girls in the deep South wear. I love them. They look amazing. They're going to be there. People are going to be in super expensive outfits, and they're going to be completely styled from head to toe by professional stylists and directors who literally insist that these girls send pictures in their outfits to the director before they're allowed to go out for the day into rehearsal. That is something that happens. Okay. And that's maybe what you're going up against. Let me just tell you, that isn't how it happened for me. I was like, let me check the clearance rack at, you know, Neiman Marcus or like off Fifth Avenue. Like, what can I find that feels like me and feels pageanty enough? And I know during the whole week of rehearsals that I can share with you, you are not going to win or lose based on what you wear during rehearsal week. You're not. So don't let that get in your head. All right, where did I go? There is not one straight pageant look. Let me share with you, a few years ago, this was like a decade ago, Mrs. America took place in Hawaii. And this gave me a lot of peace when I went this year, that I didn't have to make myself look like in a box, like, you know, the girls that I thought had the look. Mrs. America was in Hawaii, and there was one woman who wore an oversized t-shirt, white t-shirt, and these like super baggy khaki shorts every day during rehearsals. She was in Hawaii, and it was easy, and she didn't care what other people thought until she got on stage and she won. Okay. So save your energy. Don't let your wardrobe determine the confidence that you bring. You bring you. The wardrobe during the week is not really going to matter. Save your energy for the only 2 times in the entire week that it matters. It's not orientation day. It's nothing else. Not the dinners that are going to make you win. It's your interview, and it's your onstage presence. Save your energy throughout the rest of the week. Protect yourself energetically from all of the comparison and all of the thought and all of the drama. I'm not saying don't look pretty. I mean, I did hair and makeup, and I had cute outfits that I was excited to wear every week because I'm a tomboy usually, so it was fun to dress up. If that's your thing, dress up. If you want to dress down, but just be authentic so that you have enough energy by the time it actually counts that you're going to show up as your most real and amazing self. Okay. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. And there is not one right way to do it. We karate chopped those myths. So find pictures of people who've won in all different colors and who've done interview in all different ways. You'll find the full-on suits. You'll find little mini dresses. You'll find pantsuits. You'll find, mine was a dress that was strapless and was this kind of fun orangey color, and it had long sleeves with big ruffles around. And so I felt business, and it was a long pencil skirt. And I felt business here. It was no cleavage. It was a little higher than this. And then I felt party in the arm, which was me. I'm like part business and part party. You can't do one or the other, or you don't get me. So I found that dress that resembled the best of both parts of me. And that's what I want for you. Don't follow a rule of what you have to wear. Don't follow the trends even. Sew to the T. Be the one who creates the trend. That next year, girls are gonna be like, did you know she won? I remember Mrs. Alaska, who won Mrs. America. Oh gosh, how long was that? I was there in 2013. So she was 2012 and Alaska won. She had short hair. It was amazing. And she wore an interview dress that was a blocked black and white, like a color block. And it was so cool, but nobody else did that. Everybody else was in like carbon copy stuff. And so that became her signature look. And now women have replicated that and duplicated it over and over and over. Be brave enough to make your signature look, y'all. All right. That's my thing about the fashion. I'm not going to tell you what to wear, but I will tell you in closing that you do not need to have a Victoria's Secret body style to win. You do not need to have a bikini model or a fitness model level of muscles to win. But you do need to do your best to eat healthy and to work out with weights to tone up for finals. I will share with you probably at the end of this, I'll give you guys resources for how I work out and some of the nutritional supplements I take and stuff like that, because I do love to do that. And it's a big part of my life because being strong physically makes me show up strong in my life and show up strong, hopefully for you and for everyone I encounter. So I'll give you some of my hacks for that. And I'm happy to share it. But you don't need to look like those things to win. Highly suggested, no matter what your natural figure is, just do the thing with your physical fitness. Watch people who have succeeded, who look like you, and perfect you to the best of your ability. So that when you show up, you're going to show up as the best possible version of you, and you're going to rock it. Leave it all on the field. Leave it all on the mat. Make sure that you've done everything you can possibly do so that you have no regrets. Okay. And that's what the action plan is all about. So I want you to grab the action plan. Make sure you fill out for today the 3 things that you think that you can improve on, and then commit to either not improving at all, to beginning to improve, consider improving, or to rock 'em, sock 'em, improve. The cool thing about that PDF, it's on a PDF, but you know what I mean? The printout is that by the time we get to pageant week, I want you to be able to check that box and say, I am good enough. All right. No matter where you are, if you haven't made it to a 10, that's cool. Not many of us make it to a 10 in any category, let alone all of them, but you are enough. And I want to go through every checkbox and check, I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. I am ready. I am enough. And that's what that action plan is for you today. So in your image, in your fitness, you will be enough and do the things that make you feel proud of what you've done to prepare and to become your best. So I hope that helped you today. I hope that served you from the bottom of my heart. I'm so thankful that you committed and dedicated some of your precious time to spend with me. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for day 4.